good morning or afternoon or wherever you are. Thank you for joining me for this beautiful session of yoga. It's a therapeutic yoga session. We're going to begin in relaxation, constructive rest. Allow the tension to ease from our muscles and mind so we can then strengthen and stretch and come back to relaxation. You might like a chair and a blanket for your practice. They are not required, but you might find great benefit in using them. So I'll give you a minute to find your chair. You can just line it up at the end of your yoga mat and put your blanket on your chair to start. After our relaxation, we'll do some stabilization and mobilization to get some subtle movements into the body and really connect the mind into the movements. So now that you've got your chair, let's begin. You can start by lining up your hips just beneath the edge of the chair. Move your blanket to the side. And as you come down to the mat, your feet go up to the chair. And if you can, reach, go ahead and stick that blanket, lay it over your feet. Make yourself feel nice and comforted. As you settle down into the chair, down onto your mat, towards the earth, you can take your arms out to the sides with the palms up. Make any adjustments that you need so that no muscles are making any effort. And gravity takes over. You can begin to settle. You can continue to move if you still have that energy running through the body. Don't feel like you need to get rid of it. Maybe just let it work with you. And tune into the breath. Notice how the inhale is making its way down into the bottom of the lungs. As you breathe in, the belly and low back can expand. And as you exhale, make it a gentle release. Take your time. Before inhaling again. Notice tension melting from your forehead, from your low back. And take 2 more intentional, long, intuitive breaths. At the end of your next complete exhale, you get to wiggle the toes and release them from their blanket of comfort. And let your legs make their way down to the floor. Now we're going to move ourselves away from the chair. You can leave your chair there for your practice. It won't be in the way. And we're going to stay on our backs, keep our knees bent, and now the feet are on the ground next to us. So we're almost completely grounded. You can leave the arms out to the sides for just a couple breaths with the palms up. And this is a pose of relaxation. We call it constructive rest. You can take the feet out to the sides and rest your knees towards center on each other. Notice if there's any energetic or subtle effects, differences between having your feet up in the chair and down on the floor. This might feel just a little bit more grounded. I like to think of being grounded as having any stray voltage moving around through your body, able to release down through the feet like a grounding wire. Might leave you with an extra sense of calm. And then begin to move your feet hip width apart and your arms down along your sides. You might wiggle your feet back so that your heels are in tickling distance of your fingertips, or close. They don't have to be right there. And your palms are now face down. Start to even out the breath, the inhales and exhales matching each other, maybe each 3 or 4 counts in length. Now notice the sacrum, that space in the middle of the low back, reaching down towards the floor, and the same with your shoulder blades. Then make fists and thumbs up with each hand, so the thumb is pointing up towards the sky. We're going to take special notice of the shoulder blades as we do this movement. We're going to initiate the arcing of the arms, thumbs going up as we inhale. And then keep breathing as you keep your arc nice and slow, very steady. What are the sensations happening around your shoulders, your shoulder blades? You don't have to reach the floor with your thumbs. In fact, that's not the point at all. But we're exploring what the shoulders feel like, and can you keep the shoulder blades resting against the floor as you arc your arms up. Now initiate the downward or return with the exhale, but keep it nice and slow as well as you, again, listen or watch the movements of the shoulder blades. And when your fists reach the floor, then pause, try to relax the shoulders. So was there anything you could notice between the rib cage and the shoulder blade? There's actually a muscle that we're targeting here in between them called the serratus anterior. And that's kind of isolated in this movement. So we do this 4 more times on your own breath. You can just initiate the movement with an inhale and see if you can't keep the shoulder blades pressed or reaching against the floor as the arms keep coming up. And then initiate the return on the exhale. Nice and easy, nice and curious. Try to relax in between each one, kind of returning to your starting point, and see if the only thing that moves besides the shoulder blade wiggling around is the arms. Is the head and neck staying still? Is the low back able to stay at the same curve? How often are you monitoring the speed of your arm movement? Don't forget to pause between each arcing. So as soon as your fists return next to your side, or even at the very top of your reach, try and just let everything relax in place. So you're never starting from a place of stress or tension or lack of focus. And so I've got one more. If you've done 5, you can go ahead and rest back into constructive rest. Noticing lingering sensations around the shoulder blade and the arms. in the spine. Take at least 2 or 3 intentional breaths, trying to relax the muscles back into place. Great. So the next thing we're going to do is take the arms out to the sides with the palms up. Try and relax where you are. Try to keep the arms in a straight line. And now what we'll do is we'll exhale in 2 parts and inhale in 2 parts. The first exhale part is just bending the elbows and bringing the hands up. And then the second part of the exhale is reaching the hands, bringing the arms parallel. And then we inhale the reverse, elbows down and out, and then the arms down and out. And so 4 more times. Exhale, exhale, inhale, inhale, exhale, exhale, inhale, inhale. See if you could isolate just the movements of the arms. Try to keep everything else in line, in stillness. And then take one more exhale, exhale, and pause with the arms reached, hands, fingers pointed towards the sky. And from here, we're going to take some shoulder socket stretches. So it's almost like we're taking the humerus out of the shoulder socket and back in. Hopefully you don't actually take it out of the socket, but you can feel the reach. So we'll inhale, fingers lift up. Exhale, they come back. Everything else stays still. Shoulder blades stay on the ground. We'll do 4 more. Inhale up, exhale back. Just isolating these movements. Maybe 1 more. And then exhale, the hands back out to the sides. This time, palms up. Again, to relax. And now we'll bring, after your exhale, bring the arms down along your sides. And we're going to isolate movements of the pelvis. We'll do this by actively exhaling and pressing the sacrum down towards the ground. You might feel the whole pelvis tilt, top of the pelvis tilting down towards the ground. So we'll do this about 5 times. You can just inhale back to neutral. Exhale, press the sacrum down. Inhale, release. Take your time and explore. It's a pelvic movement and an abdominal engagement. Maybe 1 more. And then find neutral. Pause here. Lift the shins so they're parallel to the ground. And now intentionally push that sacrum down towards the ground. And hold it there even though we're inhaling and exhaling. And we'll alternate straightening the leg. So try to maintain this tilt of the pelvis, this engagement of the core. And inhale the right leg extended. Exhale back to bend. Inhale left. Exhale back. So again, we're isolating the movement of the leg. Keep going. We'll do about 5 on each side. If at any time you feel like your foundation is compromised of that tilted pelvis, then maybe you take a break and reset. It's not too difficult, but we're working on form more than strength. So I'm doing 1 more on each side. place both feet down. Come back to constructive rest with the arms out, maybe the knees in, for 2 nice, long, releasing breaths. Notice any sensations in the body. See if you don't feel a little bit more connected, or like your muscles are just a little bit more awake. And then we'll grab behind the knees and rock and roll along the spine. Unless this is painful for you, don't do it. Turn to one side and sit up. But if this is good, then keep going till you're ready to come to a seat and then to standing. And so anywhere on your mat that your feet can be hip width apart, and you can find your mountain. Find your whole foot in connection with the ground, the mat. From there, you've got strong legs and a neutrally aligned pelvis, and you can glide up the spine through the crown of the head and relax the shoulders back and down. Engage that even breath, exhales matching inhales. And notice here how as we inhale, we can relax the muscles of the belly and fill it with the breath and it expands. And then how as we exhale, the muscles contract towards center and a little bit up, and we almost have like this column of strength in the center. Try that a few times. When we inhale, we have to relax all that again to let the breath in, and then we exhale, we draw it all in and create like a tree trunk. And so practice that a couple more breaths. It's almost like a switch. We just have to inhale and release, and then exhale and engage. Now we're going to put this to movement. As we inhale, we're nice and tall and mountain, nice and expanded. And as we exhale, we're going to sit down into mountain. Maybe the arms just come out to front. The belly holds us up. And then we inhale, let it lift us back up to mountain. So do this about 4 more times. Exhale, come to a seat, just hinging the knees and hips. Inhale, rise back up. Feel the whole feet in contact with the ground. Feel the shoulders nice and relaxed, away from the ears. And I lose count very easily, so I'm going to do one more. You can do one with me. Inhaling back up, find your mountain once again, just engaging the muscles that it takes to keep your mountain strong and releasing effort in the others. Find that evenness of your breath. And then I invite you to step back a little bit on your mat and shift your weight now to your left foot. Kind of like the nutcracker march. Just take that right leg out in front and then come forward onto that foot. And that's about as far as you want your stance to be. The back heel is lifted and we're coming into a pyramid pose. Find the whole front foot, the ball and toes of the back foot, and you can reach through the heel. Find length in the back of that leg, but the heel stays lifted. And so now we're getting into a little bit of a back bend, which we're going to play with here. So as we stand nice and tall, we inhale and expand. And then as we exhale, maybe we raise the arms out in front and we reach forward just by leaning and hinging at the hips. And so let's move with that about 4 more times. Inhale, back up to standing, gentle back bend. Exhale, we hinge at the hips and create a nice length. Try to keep your arms parallel to the ground. And as you come up, try not to come up any further, then you feel a little compression in your low spine. And so pause here, and we'll just move the arms with the breath now. So we inhale, pull the arms into the shoulder sockets, just like we did on the ground. And exhale, reach the fingers forward. Keep the core engaged as you continue this movement about 4 more times. Keep the back of the neck nice and long. Try to just isolate this movement of the shoulders. And I'm doing one more. Then I'm pulling it back in and releasing down. And I'm going to step both feet forward. Find a mountain pose, an evenness, return to symmetry. And we'll do the reverse, but we'll just step back. So let's take that right foot back behind us and kind of fall into place. Come up on the toes of the right foot. So we're pressing down through the right heel, but it's lifted, if that makes sense. You can still get this nice length in the leg by keeping the heel up. Find that front foot completely in contact. And let's go ahead and raise our arms straight out in front of us. Feel the evenness and centeredness of the hips. Might require a little balance. And then we'll inhale, the spine nice and tall, gentle back bend. And then we'll exhale, lean forward, keep the arms parallel. And then inhale, back upright. So this is a very subtle movement. It's taking a lot of muscle control to make it happen. So about 5 total. I think I've got 3 more. Put all of your focus into just this movement. Relax where you can, the shoulders, the thighs. The muscles of the face. And when you come back upright, pause. Release tension where you can. And then we'll inhale, draw the shoulder blades in, or the arms into the shoulder sockets. And then exhale, reach the fingers out in front of you. 4 more times. Keep the navel pulled back towards the spine and core engagement. Draw the arms in one more time, and now release. Come back to your mountain. 2 breaths here. Find equanimity amongst the tension, the engagement, the release, through the steadiness of the breath. Gently bend the knees, hinge at the hips, and come into a forward fold. Let this be a release of the head and shoulders towards the ground. 2 breaths. Then place the hands beneath the shoulders and step both feet back into a downward facing dog. Really focus on keeping the knees bent as you press into the fingers. And see if you can't just raise the arms in extension of the torso. It's so much easier to do with the knees bent. And then you can begin to lift the tailbone, maybe pedal out the feet. Keep that breath flowing in and out. And then pause at a sustainable downward dog for 2 breaths. Pressing through the fingers, pressing through the toes and lifting through the tailbone. And then watching the chair behind you, gently put your weight into the right foot and lift the left foot behind you, pushing through the heel. We don't have to bring that leg very high. Take a breath here. Maybe you bend the knee then and lift the knee and open the hip out to the left side. So your foot is coming over towards your right. And take a breath. Now take that left knee up behind the left wrist. And we'll slide the right foot back into a pigeon pose. If you want more deep stretch, then you bring that shin more parallel to the top side of your mat. If you want less, you keep the knee more bent. And begin to take both hips down towards the ground together. So we don't want to rest on either hip more than the other. So keep yourself as lifted as you need, or sink down as much as you can or would like. And we'll spend 3 to 5 breaths here. I take very slow breaths, and so figure out the steadiness and cadence of your breath. For your last breath or two, you might even come down onto forearms or forehead, just depending on your needs today. After this complete exhale, then begin to let your hands push you back up. You can tuck that back toe, back set of toes, and work your way back up into a 3-legged downward facing dog. Just push through that left heel one more time and let the left foot return next to the right. Take 2 breaths here in downward facing dog, pressing through fingers and toes, reaching up through the arms and pedaling through the feet. Now we take that right heel straight back behind us, or if you're more flexible, you can raise your leg higher. Take a full cycle of breath here. Then you can bend the knee and take it out to the right as you open the hip. Try to keep all of the weight distributed evenly through your standing foot and your 2 hands. Take a breath. Now we'll draw that right knee up behind the right wrist for pigeon on the right side. Slide the left leg back. Make sure that it stays parallel with the long side of the mat. And again, you can adjust the stretch of this front hip by adjusting the shin. You might notice that one side is very different from the other. Just breathe into it. And again, you don't want to sink into the hip. But another option is to place a folded blanket underneath that folded hip. It'll raise it up, and then you don't have to hold yourself with evenness in the hips. And take 2 breaths. Stay nice and open across the chest, relaxed in the shoulders. And your next 2 breaths, you can just sink down a little bit more through the hips, or you can come down onto forearms or forehead. 2 more breaths. Once again, begin to release yourself with your hands supporting you. You can tuck the left toes and make your way into downward dog one more time, 3-legged, with the right heel pressing behind you, maybe even lifting. Take a breath here. Return to downward facing dog. 2 breaths here. Pressing again through fingers. Bending the knees or straightening the legs, whatever you need. And we'll come down through chaturanga. My favorite way is knees down, chest down, chin down. And settle down onto your forehead. Go ahead and tiptoe the toes out to the sides a little bit, and we're going to bend our knees. You can just rest your arms alongside, and we're going to windshield wiper the feet back and forth. Make sure that you get a nice movement through the hips. So if your feet are swaying to the left, you can lift the hip on the right, and the opposite. See if you notice some release in the low back. And one more round of breath as you sweep the feet from side to side. Make your way back to center. And now you can just reach behind you and grab your feet if that's available to you. Or you can try to bring your feet, or you point your toes towards your head. You can try to get a little bit of a stretch through the front of the hip, as well as a thigh stretch. Wherever you are, take 3 more breaths. The most important trick here is to try and relax where you can. To release tension and stretch, we need to relax. And so after your exhale, you can then release. You can press yourself up and back into a child pose. You can take wide knees with the toes together and let your torso rest between them, between the knees. Let your first couple of breaths be really deep and intentional. And this will help the body to know that you're still alert and awake. You can give your organs a little bit of a massage to aid digestion, help with some stimulation. And then let your next couple of breaths become more gentle and calm as we're winding down towards relaxation. After this complete exhale, use the hands to walk yourself up. And then make your way onto your back or back to your chair for final relaxation pose. So Shavasana is typically on your mat, on your back, with your feet out to the sides. But I'm going to put my feet back under the blanket on the chair. And my arms out to the sides with the palms up helps to promote relaxation across the chest for more ease of breathing, and a signal to your nervous system that you are safe and ready to restore and reset. Allow yourself to succumb to gravity. The only thing lifting you from gravity is the breath. Each inhale expands and lifts. Each exhale helps you to sink a little bit deeper down into the surface below. Notice how each inhale becomes more and more gentle, and each exhale becomes deeper and deeper. In your next couple of breaths, let the inhale become deeper. Let your body gently wake back up to the senses of its surrounding. Draw energy out to the fingers, down to the toes. And as you're ready, you can move and stretch your way into a fetal position. Legs and feet on the floor, head supported for at least 2 breaths. Then use that top hand to press yourself up into a comfortable seat. Honoring your mind and body for exploring the subtle movements, finding balance. May you take that into your day. Thank you for sharing your time, space, and practice. Namaste.